Today I have with me Mukul Mehta, the Chief Financial Officer at Novartis Pharmaceuticals. So, Mr. Mehta, can you please give a short introduction of yourself?
Yes, happy to, Akul. I work for a company called Novartis Pharmaceuticals, which is a global MNC in the field of pharmaceuticals. I head the CFO. I'm the CFO for the international business, which is about 60% of the overall business. I originally hail from India, and I think I did my bachelor's in India in engineering in Punjab Engineering College. But later on, having worked in India for a couple of years, I ended up in INSEAD, which is an MBA school in France, and thereon, for the last 21 years, I've been working in Novartis.
Can you talk about your thought process while you were in high school or university about your career choices?
Yes, very much. I've been happy to do it. I think, when I was in high school and thinking of what I would do longer term in my life, I think at that point of time, the choices were, I think the thought process that at least I had was what interests me most. And I think at that point of time, what interested me most from a subject perspective was physics and mathematics. And I thought the best way forward for me would be to do something or pursue studies that are more in line with these subjects. And that's the reason that I went for engineering as a subject. But having gone through the engineering degree and having worked as an engineer for a while out of Punjab Engineering College, I realized that to go further and to actually hone on and build on the skill set that I have, probably financial industry would make a lot of sense for me. And that is the reason that I jumped into banking. I worked for a couple of banks in India, and then trying to take this experience that I had in India more multinational. I went more on a global scale. I went for an MBA school, and from there on, I ended up joining Novartis. Many roles in the company, small in-country roles, bigger country roles, regional roles, and now a global role in the company,
That's great
all
to
in finance.
great. Um, Many of my peers as well as myself are interested in finance and want to pursue a degree in finance. What would you recommend? Would you recommend this in 2024, or should we look at alternative skills or degrees?
Yeah, I think absolutely you should. This is the earlier you make a choice in life, I think the farther you'd go, I'd say. And I think if you and your friends and your colleagues, I think, are thinking of a career in finance, if you make that choice earlier on in your career, I think it'll probably help. It'll help probably from a longer term perspective to pursue a career in finance. Now, was it attractive 20 years ago? Absolutely yes. Is it going to be attractive going forward? I think absolutely yes. There are some basics that you need to have from an education perspective, from an experience perspective. But I think more than anything else, it's the aspiration that you have for the future, and what is it that you want to do with that education that you're going to get from a longer term perspective. That would matter. What I would say is that no matter where you go in a financial career, the understanding, knowledge of the business is absolutely important. So it will never be, I'm a finance professional only looking at financial things. I think you would have to, whatever is the business. Now, in my case, it's pharmaceuticals, but you have to understand the underlying business as much as the people working in the business understand it, and then you can be an excellent finance person.
Going back to the career paths thing, how did these colleges affect your career decisions? Like you went from engineering to banking to your MBA, first MBA, and then you went to INSEAD France. So how did all these decisions you made get you to the point where you're at?
Yeah, so I think as you, what I'd say, Akul, is as you grow in your career, um, the content becomes less and less and less important. How you lead teams, how you act as a leader, how do you think of the business becomes a lot more important. So as I started off my own career, I would say in the financial industry, what I did from a day-to-day perspective. So what did I know about the banking business? How was I talking to my clients as a junior client relationship manager? How much did I know about trade management and cash management was very, very important. As I grew up into the company and I joined Novartis, I think what became more important is how do I connect the financial concepts that I have with the business that we have in pharmaceuticals, for example. You could say the same thing for entertainment industry. You could say the same thing for the energy sector. But understanding of the business becomes more important. And then as you grow through an organization on the organization ladder, what becomes more important is how do you act as a leader? How do you make the most of the resources, of the assets, of the people that you have within the organization as a leader? And it becomes less about what you do versus what your teams do. And that is what where I am today with having 3,000 people across the whole world to manage. It's less about what I know, what I do on finance versus what my teams does on finance. And that I think the leadership element in anybody's career takes a different turn. Now, your question was how do all of the education that I how did it help me become a better Yes. Make the most of myself as a professional. I think different things gave me different things. So what did engineering give me? I think engineering, I did electrical engineering, and I think what I do today is very, very far away from electrical engineering. But what engineering did give me is a certain analytical, organized, structural way of thinking about things, basically, which is absolutely important in the role that I do today. Then I went on to do something in finance, a more finance-oriented education. Actually, what it gave me is the concepts that I need, whether it's simple corporate finance accounting principles or more whether it comes to how derivatives actually work, more specialized financial concepts is what I got from that. And then when I did my MBA, this was more around international business, organizational behaviors, leadership aspects. And now, if I think of the job that I have today, I think all of those three things are important to me, which is a structured thinking process, finance fundamentals, and being an impactful leader. So I think it's if you take my story as the story for every student who's thinking of a finance career, I think I'd probably say that you have to try and find ways to be a successful financial leader to get all of this, which is the right way to think about things, a structured analytical mindset, making sure that you have your finance fundamentals right, and then finally being an effective leader in a large organization setting.
Great. So your question also leads me to another question. There is a major confusion within my generation of job prospects within finance and business. Most people, myself also thinking that business careers are limited to only banking or consulting. How did you discover an alternative path within the industry and what attracted you to roles outside of investment banking and consulting?
Yeah, no, so absolutely, yes. Akul, I think I can completely understand it. And this confusion, as you said, I think confusion is the word that you used, I think was the same confusion I had 20, 25 years ago. Uh, if you look at it in a very, very narrow lens, you would think that finance jobs are only in the financial industry or finance jobs are only in consulting, but it's far from that. When I started in a finance job, it was in the financial industry. So I worked for a couple of banks in Bombay, in India. First with Standard Chartered Bank, then with Deutsche Bank. I worked, and it was clearly a finance job, so to say. And then I did my MBA, and going into the MBA, I did my MBA from INSEAD, which is a school in France, and a number of there's one of there are three types of recruiters on the campus. There are consulting recruiters, there are investment bankers, and there's industry which recruits. And coming out of the school, I could join the consulting firm or I could join the industry. I chose to join the industry, and the program that I joined Novartis on is called Finance Development Program, which basically says that if you have an interest in finance, if you have majored in finance, and I'd done a couple of electives, INSEAD does not give a degree in MBA in finance or MBA in marketing, but it depends on the electives that you have. And I had done some couple of electives in finance and I wanted to pursue a career in finance. The objective there, or the promise of the program, is that you come into the company and then you do a couple of developmental rotations. And if you're successful in that, you become a CFO in a small market. And this small market CFO becomes a mid sized market CFO, a larger size CFO market. And now, 20 years, 21 years since joining the company, I'm the CFO of the largest part of the commercial organization of the organization. And if I'd say, if I would have gone the consulting route, so coming out of the school, I had two consulting opportunities as well with two major consulting firms, and I chose the industry route. If you ask me if I would have become a consultant, where would I have finished? I think maybe I would still be in consulting, but most likely is that I would have ended up in the industry, because if you look at people who join consulting, about 20% of them remain a consultant and then they retire as a consultant. The other 80% end up either joining the industry or starting their own businesses. So it's I think at the if the I can completely understand the confusion, but absolutely, I think you have to tell yourself and your other colleagues that a finance career goes beyond an investment banking or a consulting career.
Any tips for us and for students on how to break into finance, and which role in finance would you advise students to go for, especially with this new underlying power of AI having a
Yeah.
threat over new jobs?
Yeah. So this is what I'd say, Akil. I think you are in a nascent stage in your own career journey, is what I would say. So the first thing I'd say is that having a longer term view to what is it that you want to do with your life, if it's a career in finance, is very important. So what the first thing I'd say is define, and it's very difficult, but talk to as many people as you can, like myself, like your own parents, uh, and then decide for yourself what would make you happy 20 years from now. uh, and it could be, and when I'm saying what would make you happy after 20 years, could be very different things. So it could be that you would define for yourself that I would be happy if I've created a company of my own, if I'm an entrepreneur, and that'll make me happy. What could make you happy is to say that I'm leading a global organization that is playing a part in people's life across the whole globe. Basically, what could also make you happy is to say, if I'm leading a large organization, 500 people, 1,000 people in the financial industry, whatever it is. So I think you have to define that longer term ambition to yourself. And then your shorter term actions, whatever you do. So whether you decide to pursue a study in economics, or you decide to pursue a study in engineering, or you decide to do something else, start, join a startup very early on in your career, I think would be much easier choices for you to make. Um, the last thing that I would say is that looking back at my own personal experience, I think I would say take risks basically. And what I mean with taking risk is not doing skydiving, but you can also do skydiving if that's what gives you pleasure. But what I mean with taking risk is there's so much in the world that we're living in is changing. And you mentioned AI as, I think it is very clear that AI will play an absolutely fundamental part in any industry, including financial industry, in years to come. So if you can get involved in something around AI earlier on, around technology, either as part of your studies or something outside of it, absolutely go for it.
Great. So, how do you think the field of finance has evolved and will evolve? Going back to the AI, how will it evolve? And what are new opportunities emerging that students should be aware of?
Yeah, so I think what will change is that, I mean, already a lot has changed in the financial industry, but everything that is repetitive in nature would be completely going off the table. So any kind of repetitive task, I think, would go off the table. Uh, the financial industry works the best because of it connects two ends. It connects people, um, individuals, organizations that have money to invest, and it has a set of people or organization that need that money to invest to produce more wealth, basically. And then financial industry, a pure financial industry, which is, I'd say, a bank or a fund, is the connector of those two ends. And with I think those interfaces that we have between who has the money and who needs the money would become more and more lucid. So there will be less and less manual intervention to do that, which essentially means that uh, people and organization who understand and use technology differently, use AI differently, I think would be the winners in this particular game. And it'll be the same thing for in the industry that we are in today. So if you think of the pharmaceutical industry, I think how we create wealth is by discovering new medicine, by taking that medicine into the world that we live in the best possible manner, and then using the resources that we have when using them to the best possible use. And in all of those three fronts, AI and technology will play a different role. So we already have so much innovation going on what AI can do to make uh, the process of drug discovery more efficient and more effective. AI is already playing a part in saying that how do we interact with our larger stakeholders is made more efficient and effective. And finally, AI is already helping us to use the two. I mean, I mentioned it's a $200 billion cap company. Is how do we use the capital that we have as a company to maximize the output? And this is true for the energy sector. It is true for the telecommunication sector. It is true for every business that we have. That technology is going to play a part there. How will jobs evolve? Uh, I think every job that we have, including a financial analyst, data analyst, would be more and more dependent on technology. One place that I have seen and talking to a number of people who have kids going into universities is data science is now becoming one of the most valued paths uh, in major universities in the US, basically. So, what you can do around data and technology, I think would definitely be a huge positive for the future. My actually one advice that I would have is that you have to try and make it broad in the sense that if you can combine data science with something else, so whether it's data science with marketing, data science with engineering, data science with um, a different type of education, then you give yourself some differentiation from everybody else.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming out today. I think that concludes our time for today. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule as a CFO of a $200 billion company and coming out to join our interview series. And I think your
Happy to.
insights helped us a lot. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.